All right. Welcome, everybody. Again, this is Tom Randolph from Goldencare. Want to welcome you today to this webinar on the short-term care OmniFlex eApp and quoting. Just mumbling through. I just got off phone call and I've been scrambling around here, and I realized that I had to hang up on the person and jump on the call. So I'm sorry about the delay for those of you who've been on here for a couple minutes. But anyway, usually I'd introduce my partner in crime, Dennis Reiner, who is on these webinars with us. As you know, if you've been part of this Integrity Short-Term Care Initiative, you know we've given we're scheduled to give 30 webinars in 25 business days. So we've covered a lot of topics and a lot of different things, and Dennis today got double booked. So he's off doing another electronic training for one of our partners as well. So anyway, I just wanted to get started here. I won't do a lot of the intro thing. For those of you who have been on, I won't do my intro slide that I always do, talking about my passion for long-term care and extended care and trying to help people as much as we can as agents, because it's such a huge need out there. So I will save you that part of it if you've been on the calls, and if you haven't, you'll catch it on one of the other webinars, I'm sure. But today we have some fun stuff to get into. We're going to kind of roll up the sleeves and get in on some of the administrative side as I show you how easy it is to walk through the OmniFlex site for the short-term care, and I'll probably jump into the home care as well if we have time. But anyway, remember the biggest ability of all these plans, like we talk about on some of our other training, the biggest ability in a lot of these plans is the availability, right? So one of the things we have on the site and we have available for you on our trainings, a lot of times you'll see these colorful maps. And in our short-term care initiative, it's certainly not exhaustive of all the products we have available here at Goldencare, for example, or maybe your marketer who sent you, got you on this call. But we do have the GTL Recover Cash, which is a wide availability, probably the largest availability of the short-term comprehensive plans. OmniFlex, that we'll talk about today, is available in 31 states right now, and more coming. We always tease a little bit. The Indiana plan is coming. Dennis is a little more optimistic than me. He said October 1st. I'm shooting for mid-October, but hopefully it'll be October 1st. But as soon as it is, we promise you, if you're appointed or with us or any of our partners, you'll be the first to know. So Indiana is coming for the OmniFlex. Wellaby is available right now. That's our newest entry into the program. That's Medico Wellaby, and they are available in 10 states right now. And again, this is all broken down just to show you a bird's eye view of which ones has all three products available, which one has the GTL and OmniFlex, or the OmniFlex and Wellaby. Wisconsin's up there without the GTL plan, but we have the other two. So, and you guys know, I'm going to show you real quick here if I don't screw it up. There we go. Home healthcare plans, we remember the availability. It comes down to the state availability and then the underwriting. So you guys know that already. For those folks who can't get a comprehensive plan or want affordability or decide they just want a home healthcare only plan, we do have the GTL available in the states that you see here in blue. Manhattan Life is available with their new Home Healthcare Select, which is very strong, and that is available in these states as well. So True Freedom is for all 50 states, and it's a lot of times if you don't have any availability of the other plans, that's a great option. And I shouldn't say that way because it sounds like it's just a plan B. It's not an insurance product, but if you go to our training on True Freedom, our recordings, you know it's a very valuable part of your portfolio, because you do want to be able to help people in other states. Plus, it's a prepaid home care plan that's super, super well leveraged. So it's not a bad idea for people in general. But most of the time we look at the insurance products first and then have True Freedom as a complement, or in the states that we can't get it, like my state here in Minnesota, that just doesn't allow the short-term care for some reason. Okay, so I'll get off the state availability and zoom right along. Again, if you haven't looked on our site, this is just a screenshot, so I'm not going to bore you with showing you this stuff. But if you haven't seen it on our site, that hopefully I'll have time to show you at the end of today's short webinar, that we can get this InstaPivot tool for you. And again, it's a great tool if you want to roll up the sleeves, man. I'll tell you what, it's got every single question that we'd ever ask on any of these products for underwriting, and medications, over 1,000 medications for all the different Aetna products are on there. So we covered the medications really wide, and you can put in certain meds or certain key conditions health-wise and find out which products will take your client. And one of the nicest things about this is one of the simplest parts of it whatever state I'm talking to my client in, if I'm getting ready for an appointment or if I'm on an appointment or a screen share, you can click on select state. It'll drop down a menu and you can click on it. And these little top columns here will turn green to show you which products are available in that state. So it's kind of a nice way for you not to have to keep track. And this is a living, breathing tool when we show that when you get on this from the internet. So you're going to be able to have the ability to have it up to date as new states get approved, et cetera. So you don't have to worry. Plus, there's a lot of additional information on each product right on this site as well. So just to remind you that that's there. So that being said, I'm going to jump right in and I'm going to go over here and try to get you onto the site for Manhattan. This is just my password manager here. Once you get appointed with Manhattan Life, you're going to get a number for yourself and you can have a password. It'll probably give you a defaulted password the first time. And once you get that, then you're going to log in like this on the site. I don't know why it's sitting and spinning. Sometimes it'll sit and spin when I'm on a webinar, especially today because I've been busy. This is my actually third webinar that I've been part of today. So my bandwidth on my computer is going to be a little slow. Hopefully it doesn't bog us down too bad for this webinar. But once I get to that, this will bring me to what's called the dashboard. And this is will show your commissions and in-force business and agent tools, etc. If you want to download forms or get online forms, all that's in this left menu over here. I'm not going to go into that today because I want to get into the eApp and show you about the quoting. And there's obviously some HIPAA things we'd have to worry about because this is our actual national independent site here for Goldencare. So once you get here, if you're going to do a quote, you just go to Manhattan 2.0, okay? And you click on Manhattan 2.0 and it's going to bring you over to their universal input screen in Manhattan Life that'll show you how we're going to have access to all their products and not just the OmniFlex or the home healthcare plan, okay? So you're going to get here and you'll see a bunch of policies here if you have some in the works. Otherwise, they're over here on the right-hand side where you'll have recently saved enrollments. So if you click quote, you should be able to see this okay, I hope. And if you see quotes here, you'll get to this screen. And the first thing it's going to do is have you enter a zip code of where you do it. And this is a pretty slick way. So be prepared for this the first time you're using it. If you're getting ready to go on an appointment for Montgomery, Alabama, make sure you're checking the zip code so you can get that quote quickly. Because what this will do is show you which exact plans that they have in their portfolio are available. So once I click next, it's going to go to a very, very simple first step screen. And this is basically just to get you to put in the birth date of the person that you want to quote. I'm just going to use 10/11/61. Male and female, it's unisex rates. I'll have this person as a male. And the effective date is one of those things that if you're doing a married couple, I usually say make sure you put out the effective date a little bit. These are pretty fast turnaround plans, remember, and Manhattan's had a really, really successful launch here so far. So they are getting a lot of business in. So what I tell people is when you're doing a married couple especially, I usually say, let's move out this effective date a little bit. And it's very easy to do it. And if I push it out here and say, maybe I'll make it, is it okay if we do it as October 9th effective date? And it doesn't matter what date you use, obviously, but what I'm trying to do is avoid the fact that as we get into this process and we have maybe mom or dad and dad has a weird med that they're looking at saying, boy, our medication list is pretty cut and dry, but there's a few meds that are used for something that might be a knockout question. And in that case, I want to call and make sure that this is something that is above board. Does that make sense? And again, I'll show you that when we get into the meds, that it's real easy to make sure they can avoid the phone calls if possible, if you do your job well. So that's something that's really important as we get into this today. But anyway, the effective date out there, I'm going to put it 10/9. And remember what date you put as the effective date if you do move that out a little bit. Because on my bank draft date, the best case scenario is if I put it down for a day that I want my bank draft to come out. And again, nobody gets double charged. Nobody, there's just a little confusion once in a while if people get a bank draft right when it gets approved, and then they get a bank draft again a week later for a full month because of the fact they're paying ahead of time because they chose a bank draft date that was different. So all I want to do is make it as simple as possible, avoid confusion. You don't have to move out the effective date, but if you do, you might be able to avoid some of that confusion. So I'm going to push it out to 10/9. And don't worry about this dependence here. This is remember all of their product line, including some of their life products that might have dependents like kids involved. In this one, even if I have a spouse, skip the dependents at this point, it'll come up later. Okay. So I'm going to just put in the primary insured. I'm going to view products. And I know there's probably a little delay for the webinar, so I'm going to pause here. It's pulling up all the products that are available in Montgomery, Alabama. Okay, so here I have accident insurance, portable choice, blah, blah, blah. Scroll down, scroll down. Here's Home Healthcare Select. This is the home healthcare only plan that's part of the Integrity Short-Term Care Initiative. And here's the OmniFlex short-term care plan as well. Okay, so I'm going to click on the short-term care plan first. That's the OmniFlex short-term care. And it's going to right away ask you and say, do you have a spousal discount? I know this is probably small on your screen, but it's very clear on mine. And it says, to qualify for a spousal discount, do you have a spouse who resides with you in the same household? And they must have a short-term care facility coverage with Standard Life. Okay, that's in order to get a 10% spousal discount. In this case, I'm going to put yes. And then I'm going to put down their name. I'll put down Betty Fakey. And I'm going to be lazy and I'm going to put her birth date as the same year. So all I have to do then is click add spouse. Remember to add the spouse. And now it's going to go over to the next screen. And I know this is going to be fast for some of you. If this is the first time you've seen this training, remember we have recorded training. Today's being recorded as well. So you're going to be able to go back, and in the agent guide, there's a little sample to walk you through this as well that I can show you. Okay. So when you get to this screen, quick quote or full quote. If I click on quick quote, what it'll do, it's going to skip all the underwriting questions. Remember, one of the nice things about OmniFlex is that we have two-tiered of underwriting, right? We have the ability to throw the net much wider than some of the other short-term care plans. Wellaby does this as well. And what we can do with the OmniFlex plan is we can have the ability to have either a limited plan or a full-blown plan. So the first questions that it's going to ask, if I click on full quote, I'm going to skip the quick quote because that's just a fast way to get benefits only. If I do a full e-enrollment, this is where I'll end up. And it'll say, first thing in the last 24 months, have you used any tobacco products? These aren't knockouts. These are just going to be a 10% premium load if they use tobacco. Okay. So again, 10% is reasonable. Some of the companies have higher tobacco loads, but this one has a 10%. Okay. Next question down here, you probably can't read it, and I'm not going to read them all to you, so don't panic. It'll ask about in the past 24 months. And now here's where I'm going to segue over. What they're asking first on this screen, they're asking what we call the second tier of underwriting questions to find out if your agent gets a full-blown plan or a limited plan with OmniFlex, okay? This sounds confusing. It isn't. Just bear with me. If I go over to the paper app, okay, and I go over here, I'm going to see if I can make this bigger. And this is just the paper app. We have this available for every state, fillable applications. You can see very simple. You don't need to do what I'm showing you right now, but it's just an easy way to clarify, okay? Here's the paper app, and it says Health Questions Part 1. And it says, if you answer yes to any of these, they're knockouts, okay? So you can see these are super broad, and these aren't the questions I just showed you on the online thing. So some of you might want to do this first, because what the first questions are on the online eApp are these questions. They're trying to find out if you can design a policy plan that's a full-blown plan up to $400 facility, or if you have to limit it to $100. Because watch what it says here on the paper app. If you answer yes to any of these questions, simple inflation's not available, and you're limited to $100 maximum on home health care, hospital indemnity, or the base facility rider, okay? So what they're doing on the eApp, again, is asking these questions first, which makes sense because they want to design a plan in the next step, and they want to find out if they can do a full plan or a short plan. So again, I won't read all these to you, but the questions I ask on the eApp that I showed you a second ago are identical to what you're seeing here. So again, they're not knockouts. All they are is limiting plans. So knowing that, I'm going to go back to the eApp. But before I do that, I want to tell you one of the things we've had good success with agents is because they asked the second part of the questions first, some of the clients think, oh, great, I made it through underwriting. I don't have anything else to worry about. But then they end up having something weird that it's a knockout totally, and you wasted their time and you wasted your time. So what some of our agents have done, if they're meeting in person or if they're meeting on a screen share or just over the phone, what they've done successfully is said, you know, Jim and Betty, one of the things we know with these type of policies is that if you get into our sales training, you guys, we teach you this, you buy these policies more with your health in your checkbook nowadays. So the first thing I want to do is find out some health questions from you to make sure you qualify for coverage. Does that sound fair? Then what the agents have done, if they're going to go with OmniFlex in that state, is they just asked right from here. They don't have to show the client. They can talk it, or they can share their screen and say, just going to do some broad questions on health first. Any AIDS or HIV? These are really broad, you guys. Medicare, Medicaid, or Medicare disability prior to age 65 or disabled? Are you currently getting assistance with activities of daily living? Again, you're going to see these identical questions on the eApp later on, but right now what we're trying to do is figure out, should we even go to the eApp part? So I'm going to ask them these questions, and you can see they're very broad. I won't read them all to you right now, but they are very broad. There's a cancer question down here. So you just want to make sure you don't waste people's time. Okay. So if you want to do that, it's fine. If you don't, they're pretty broad. Most people won't get knocked out, but I did want to give you a saving step tip there if you want to go through the app part of it first. And you don't even have to fill out those. If you're going to do an eApp, I wouldn't be checking yes or no. I'd just be saying, let's find out and make sure you're going to qualify for coverage. And then ask those questions, then go to the eApp. And you don't have to ask the tier 2 questions because they're right here on the eApp and they come up first. Boy, that sounded really confusing, but I promise you, once you do it once, it'll make total sense to you. Okay. Do you use tobacco? In the last 24 months, have you been diagnosed with or had a stroke or TIA or congestive heart failure? Again, I'm not going to read all these to you, but these are the tier 2 questions. Okay, so I'm going to put no, I'm going to put no. And again, just for time's sake today, I'm not reading all these to you, but you're going to see these are pretty broad too. OmniFlex does a pretty good job of covering quite a few conditions that the other carriers won't cover. If you've been in our trading, you know that. Okay. And the last one down here, COPD, pulmonary disease, etc. So again, without reading all those to you, we're going to say no to all those. And remember, if I said yes, what happens? Are they knocked out? Absolutely not. This bar up here would only go up to $100 instead of $400 if I would have answered yes to any of those first branch of questions on the eApp. Okay. So now I'm here, I'm looking at the applicant first, 61-year-old, and I have a sliding bar. So it's very easy to go in here and slide over and design this plan any way I want to. Okay. So I'm going to do a weird one. I'm just going to go $290 a day because for some reason they wanted to be weird. Okay. Again, you're going to talk to your client about affordability and need and all that fun stuff we cover in the sales and plan design. So down here, one of the things I want you to notice, there's the applicant total. And as I'm designing the plans, that's going to change. And if I want to go annual, I can go right over here and switch it to annual, but I'll keep it at monthly. Most of our plans are probably sold monthly. Okay. There's no premium load for monthly. Now I'm down here, I'm going to do 360-day. I'll do 20-day elimination on facility, the base part of the plan. And you can see there my premium sitting at $69. And I just went 20 days. You don't have to do that. A lot of people go 0 days, and you can see the difference right there. For $77 a month difference, or for $9 a month difference, I could jump up $8 maybe, $8 a month. So it's up to you what you do. I'll just do 20 days because that's fairly common. Okay, everybody with me so far on betting? Down here are riders. Don't worry about these dollar amounts. We're not charging you for them. They're just there to show you that if I added a home healthcare rider for the lowest benefits possible in that state, it would only be $1.77 more a month. So all those are is showing you that it would have been, could have been. Okay, so for now, I'm going to click home healthcare rider, and it's going to say, we sell these policies for you to stay at home. So it's going to give you from $50 to $300 in $10 increments. Again, a nice, easy to use sliding bar. I'm going to throw it over at $300 because I know that's most people want to have a pretty robust plan on home care if they can afford it. And you can see here, my premium didn't go up that much, did it? If I do a full year with home health care, $300 a month, $300 a day, indemnity benefit, remember that's up to $9,000 for a month. That's pretty strong, and it's indemnity. So even if days come in, services come in under $300, if I qualify for claim, it'll pay the full $300 for that day. Okay. I'm going to keep it at first day coverage because that's our most common for home care. People want to get those benefits right away. So now I'm sitting at 103. I could add on a hospital indemnity rider. All I do is click below. And with people with MA plans, they kind of like these. Again, this is one of those up to you on determination. Watch what I do here. If I put a $300 per day, really robust HI rider on there, it went up to $122 only. So you may decide to do that. If you decide, no, I don't want to have the HI rider after all, I can go click remove rider and it'll go back to my $103. Simple inflation, same thing. Remember, simple inflation is available because they passed that underwriting and they have the ability to get simple inflation on this plan. All right, so I'm sitting at $103 for dad and I designed his plan. I'm feeling pretty good about it. How come the combined total down here says $110, 103 to 110? Well, because right now, all they know about mom is that she's going to buy a policy. So for age 61 in Montgomery, Alabama, the very cheapest plan I could buy, if I had everything at the lowest benefits possible, would only be $7. So that's why that's at 110, because I haven't designed mom's plan yet. So if I click over to mom on this tab, this is a very intuitive process, by the way, you'll see as we get in deeper. I click on mom's tab here and I see I'm still at 110, so it's the lowest benefit I can have. I can design anything I want for mom. And by the way, if mom would have had a condition that she couldn't get the $400, it would limit it to 100, that's fine. She would just have a slide bar that only goes up to 100, okay? So in this case, she had good health too, so we can get whatever we want. And again, I can design any kind of plan I want for mom and see that her premium changes. But a lot of you do mom and dad with identical coverages, right? That's very common. So if I go to this button right here, set coverage same as applicant, it'll automatically set everything to identical to what I had for dad. Since I put them in at the same age, there you see 103.24 and 206.48. So you can see it's 2 times. So everything's looking good in my head, right? If I want to design specific plan for mom, remember, you can do that with this policy. You can have way different benefits if you'd like. Little teaser there to remind you that I know Manhattan probably doesn't like it, but sometimes dad is going to be stubborn. He's going to say, I don't want a plan. You know what? I guarantee I'm going to die in 2 years and I don't want to mess with this. You know what? Sometimes you can have mom with a very robust plan and dad with a little baby plan. And guess what? She saves 10% premium because they're married. And you can end up saying, Dad, I'll get you some coverage, and it'll be what we call a baby or starter plan. But at least then mom gets a better rate, and overall you came out ahead. Okay. So that being said, probably confused you more than you wanted to there. But once I put this down and I decide what I'm doing for mom and dad, and I'm feeling good about the premium, then I can either begin the enrollment right away. But what I would recommend you do is click View Proposal. Okay. And View Proposal is a nice little thing to have. And basically, you haven't even put dad's name in there, right? So far, you just put his birth date. So I'm going to put in Jim's name, and I think I called her Betty. And then before I click download in illustration, I can roll down here and I can show my client, if I'm on a screen share, I can show them right from this screen and say, okay, oh, I guess they called her Batty there. That's probably not very nice. I better go Betty. All right. So Jim and Betty, this was prepared for you today for 261-year-olds in Alabama. And then it goes through very nicely. You'll see it looks a lot like the brochure. It shows here's your $290 per day, 20-day elimination, 360 days. Remember, you have a 2 times maximum benefit period and bed reservation built in. Also built in is a prescription drug. You guys, what I'm doing here is I'm cementing the sale, right? I'm showing them right at this stage even saying, now remember, the beauty of this OmniFlex plan is we have a $300 prescription drug benefit that you can start using right away. And when we talked about your health a little bit, I'm betting you've got a few medications, don't you? Well, you can have $10 for every generic or $25 for every brand name. Even if you have great medical insurance that pays 100% of it and you have no copay, you still get the rebate on that. And it goes up to $300 per year. And a lot of my clients use the full $300. So it really is premium savings right out of the gate. Okay. It also has the Fast 50. You guys are married, and Jim and Betty, I know you talked a little bit about the fact that you might want to help yourself or have your kids come over and help. One of the nice things of this plan is, as a built-in option, they have the Fast 50 benefit. And basically what it says, whatever benefit your plan grows to over time, or whatever it's sitting at the date of claim, if you want to have your spouse, family, or friends take care of you, that's fine. We can go and pay you 50% of whatever that daily benefit was, and you can use that for any days that your family decides that you'd rather have the cash. So really nice benefit. People love cash, and as you guys know, as agents, that's one of the biggest reasons people don't buy these plans. They say, well, they'll exclude coverage for family member and friends most of the time. GTL has a nice little one-time benefit that's really strong. But otherwise, these plans say we won't pay for family members or friends. So this is a really nice option in OmniFlex, and it's one of the reasons people turn to it. Restoration of benefits. Take off your long-term care hat. If you happen to be a long-term care salesperson, take it off or turn it to the side, because remember, the benefit triggers for short-term care plans don't have that 90-day certification, right? They say, do you need help with 2 of 6 ADLs? And it doesn't stipulate for how long a time you'll need help like long-term care does. So with these plans, things like knee replacement, hip replacement, minor surgeries sometimes that knock you out for a few days, major surgeries, fractures, things that you don't usually go to long-term care for. With this plan, you're going to start a claim and be able to have several smaller claims through the years, okay? And what restoration does is it says, hey, the good news is once you get done with a claim and we paid some benefits out, guess what? If you can be healthy for 180 days after that where you don't need care, I always joke saying, we don't want you to take mom and tie her up in the basement and with duct tape, and just to get the restoration. But as long as mom's healthy again or dad's healthy again, hey, for 180 days, half a year, then those things automatically, the computer kicks your daily benefit right up to what you started with. So it'd be back up to 360 days. So really strong. And the reason, again, I'm spending time with this is that this is what you should do with your clients. This is called cementing the sale, right? I'm telling them again about the power of this plan, that, you know what, up to 2 times benefit period. So 360 days, but with restoration, theoretically, you could have 720 days with the facility side of this and with the home care as we get into that next. Okay. So you can scroll down. Same thing here. Make sure you don't have your client get blindsided. When they get their policy, it's going to show you exactly how this policy ramps up the first 5 years. That's not a secret, right? Remember our training when you were on the product training? That's our secret sauce. That's the thing that makes this plan tick and gives you the ability to have such a strong benefit at claim time. So don't be afraid to tell your clients, you bet, we're going to take this and we're going to have it go. If I sell you 290 today, it'll be half that benefit to start with, because chances are you're not going to go and claim the first year. And then it goes up in equal increments until it hits that $290 mark that I sold you on the 5th policy anniversary. Okay. And then from there, I didn't put inflation on there. So for your policy, it'll level off and it'd be 290. So most people don't go on claim. We try to plan ahead. So most people won't go on claim for the first 2 or 3 years. I can promise you this. I saw the training for this OmniFlex plan, and one of the guys who helped design the plan showed us every example in the book that at about 3 years, this plan really outperforms almost anything else out in the industry. So this is a very strong option for you. And this is one of the nice things that OmniFlex does, is it does ramp up, but that makes it more available for more people and better at claim time. Okay. This is for the facility and the home care. If I had my way, they were nice to add this in at Manhattan Life. I wish they would have added in after the home care rider, because I want to make sure you as an agent don't misrepresent. This is how this works for base benefits or the home health care benefit. Okay, not the hospital indemnity if you have it, but for the main parts of the policy, they both ramp up. Okay, optional benefits for the home care. $300 per day for Jim and Betty. Starts at $150 and ramps up after that 5th anniversary. It's up to $300. And first day coverage there, and 360-day, another strong benefit plan. Same thing with the restoration, like we talked about before. You can get up to 2 times that benefit with the simple restoration. So, and again, the Fast 50 is obviously available here as well with the home care. Okay, so we go down, and then we see the illustration summary. There's Jim and Betty. Your name would be right here on the prepared by if you signed in with your name. And then it shows a breakdown of the premiums. And it does remind them there is just that one-time $25 policy fee that the first modal premium, it'll be added onto that. It doesn't include that here, so remind your agents of that, or your clients of that. Okay. I spent a lot of time on that because I think it's an important part of this process. And again, click view proposal, go in here, click download illustration. I'm not going to do it here. It takes a second or two to do, but if you do that, it'll show you a nice PDF that you can email to your clients and save however you want to do. Okay, so I just showed you that one there, and it's identical to what you see on this screen. Okay, I push the little X and I'm back to my software. You guys are like, come on, Tom, get into the actual software itself, and you're going to see it's very, very fast, faster than what I've spent time here talking to you on the side, because if I was going through so far, this is all pretty fast, isn't it? Then I click begin enrollment. And if I click begin enrollment, now it's starting to do the eApp, right? It's saying, okay, what's going on here? And again, first thing I want to do is I want to save this. So if I click save, it's going to let me save this under anything I want to do. And you can use benefits. Some people use names, whatever you want to do to save this so you remember it later. Okay, I'm just going to be simple on this one and put Jim and Betty Fakey. So I save that one so I can go back later and sign out of this and all that fun stuff and go back and view this and edit it, etc. if I needed to. Okay. So first thing I'm going to show you on the enrollment screen, and again, you're going to see how fast this is down in the lower right. This is a very intuitive process. See the green here? It shows you green based on if you get it done right. So watch this. I'm going to do this. I'm not very good at typing and chewing gum at the same time, but I will show you that it does ask for a social security number because they do a medications check. So you do have to have a valid social number on there. And then it'll go to the address, 123 Street. And it already filled on Montgomery, Alabama, and their birthday, right? Because it already knows that about Jim. Then it'll say contact phone number. All right. So you're going to type in all that information, and then you're going to go over here and click next. And if I made a mistake there, like I skipped the social security number, this wouldn't turn green. See how nice and intuitive this is? It's watching your back. So if I would have done something wrong there or skipped something that was important, this wouldn't turn green. It would give me a little heads up saying, Tom, you better go back and take a look. And there'd be a little red notification that I skipped something. Okay. So if I filled out correctly, it gives me green. Now I say, do you have any similar insurance coverage that you're applying for today? I'm going to put no. If I click yes, it just gives me information saying some states require certain forms if I have other coverage. So in this case, it's fine to have other coverage. And by the way, you can have an OmniFlex plan along with another home health care only plan. You can have 2 OmniFlex plans for the same individual, but you can have a home health care with it, no problem. Okay. And I could have another short-term care plan from another carrier, no problem. There's no coordination with these policies. They're full indemnity regardless of other insurance. Okay. What are this questions now? Now we're talking about AIDS and HIV. Why did that pop up? Well, remember I showed you on the application that first set of questions that I said sometimes you want to do these up front because you're going to find out these are knockout questions. Okay. So if you already did them up front, you're going to say, remember Jim and Betty, we already talked about this when I went through the paper application with you, and you guys said you didn't have any problems with HIV or AIDS. So I'm going to click no disability problems down here. And again, I'm not going to read them all to you, but this is the activities of daily living. And you can see right in the question, it says, if you answer yes, you're not eligible for coverage. So it does tell you as an agent that you don't want to answer yes to these or we can't get coverage. And again, I'm just filling this out for time's sake. We already went through it on the paper app. And remember, don't go too crazy and put no, because down at the bottom here, This is the last knockout, talking about the last thing here with cancer. Then it comes down to, has any applicant taken or been prescribed drugs by a medical professional? This is not a knockout. This is very common, right? We have the $300 RX benefit. So I'm going to put in here yes for dad. And if we put in for dad, metoprolol, again, the prescribed date, this is one of those that asks for a month, day, and a year, but we all know most people don't remember the exact day by any stretch. So all we're saying here is do your best. You know what I mean? This was last prescribed, and then it'll ask when you were diagnosed with the problem and the onset date. So the last prescription date you can put down, you know, that was, I'm going to put down 07/01/2023. So that just shows it's not a big deal here. Again, this is mainly just trying to get as much information as possible so there's less confusion. Okay, so you do try to put down what they're taking. 1 a day, diagnosis. I take metoprolol for high blood pressure. This is an important part that I want to stress out to you guys, is if they're taking this, try to remember to put down the diagnosis, because there's some meds, metoprolol is not one of them, but there's some meds that'll say, this is taken sometimes for congestive heart failure or high blood pressure. So you want to make sure you put down high blood pressure, so that way you can avoid a phone call a lot of times. If it's one of those meds that's a little scarier, sometimes the underwriter will give a call to the client and say, I just want to verify why you're taking this. If you don't put a diagnosis and it happens to be one of those meds that's a little bit scarier that can be used for other conditions, then they might call them. We have a list for OmniFlex. It's in your tools. That's called a medication list that'll list all the different meds that they might be worried about. And you can see if they're going to have a multi-condition type med. Again, not trying to complicate it, just trying to save you confusion later on. The onset date is another one. When did my high blood pressure come up? You know what? Most people can't remember that. So just do the best you can. Put January 1 and say, let's take a shot at it. And say, boy, I think that was back in 2001. I'm not positive. They're not going to decline you for this. They just want to get as much information as possible. Okay. So here it's still giving me a red line saying you must do at least one. So that's why I pushed the plus sign so that it shows up there. Okay. And I can get rid of it later if I wanted to, and I can do all the meds right now. If you have a long list of meds, you do have the ability to send that in to OmniFlex later on. So if that's an issue for you, under the special instructions, say, I'm going to fax this in or email it in, and we can help you out with that. On the site, it'll show you what to do with that type of situation where you're going to send in the meds. Okay. So now I've got done with that. I've decided to type in, because he only had a few meds. You can see the application questions are turning green. That's good. I'm going to turn next. And then I go to email consent. And again, I don't have to do this in order. I could click down here and jump around. Most of the time, you're going to do it in order. And again, I can't stress enough, the time I'm spending with you today is much more because I'm doing a lot of extra talking to try to convince you of certain things or talk about certain things. With your client, this is very, very quick. Now I'm down to the dependents, and it's showing the spouse. And all we know so far is Betty and her age, right? So I'm going to complete the information, and all it's going to do is make sure I get a valid social security number for the med check. And I'm going to put a gender down. I'll make her female. And then I update that. And you can see it gives me a green light and a check mark. Things are looking good. I got it done and it turned green. Easy stuff, right? Payment information. Do I want to be billed directly or automatic bank draft? If I do an automatic bank draft, it'll come down and the first thing it asks for a bank routing number. And this is just to verify that they don't have any problems later getting the money. So if you click validate on here, it'll quickly show you what routing number and what bank it's related to. So you'll know if you're made a mistake, but usually it's just a nice way to know you're on the right track and they won't have any problems. I can have electronic funds monthly, quarterly, semi, or annually. We talked monthly. Then it'll say checking or savings, and it asks for the account number, right? So the account number is going to vary. Put that in. The bank customer names means who is this under? type that in so they know that they're going to be able to get it. I type Betty every time there. Poor Betty. I don't know what's up with that. Jim and Betty Fakey. The desired withdrawal date. Remember when I talked about that way back at the beginning? You don't have to put one down, but most of the time people say, oh, I'd like to. In this case, I put October 9th, so I'm going to put down the 9th for the bank draft date. Again, this will just avoid any potential confusion. Hopefully it'll be slick as all get up. They'll both get approved and it'll come out the 9th and everything will seem really super normal no matter what. Okay. Then it comes down and just says, I authorize the bank to do that. If somebody else was paying for this, you click this and put in their information. That's not the case. This is just Jim and Betty. Okay. I'm looking down here and my payment turned green. That's a good sign. Insured applicant beneficiary. I'm going to do the estate, or I could designate one. Again, this is not a life product. This is all part of their usual stuff they do, but this would be more used for unearned premium. If for some reason Jim or Betty died after they already paid part of their premium, there is no return of premium in this plan or anything like that. So it isn't the end of the world, but they do ask you just to have it there for unearned premium. Okay. Then I go down, and one of the things you'll love about this is we're already at the signature stage. And the nice part about this is you don't have to worry about having a DocuSign or a text message or a phone call. The best thing about this is you just use maiden names. So Jim, what's your mother's maiden name? And on the spouse, what is your maiden name of your mother? And again, I just put Facus and Fake One in this one. But this is really simple to do and it's very easy to do. And that's all they require from Manhattan Life, because they can trace that nowadays using maiden names through and social security numbers. Okay, so that's all we need for that signature. And you can see here, I'm going to go down here to mail a copy of this to the agent or the insured. If I do the agent, I'm done. If I do the insured, I click mail or email. Okay, so I'm going to click agent in this one because I like to get my policies myself, and I can put in something in the special request. Okay, you don't need to. This is just if there's something special that you want those underwriters to see or know about, or I'm going to send in a separate email with all the medications following this application. Okay, down here, you can tell I've talked too much today. I'm taking a lot of drinks of water. All right, looking a lot of green over here. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I got through this. Remember how fast I would have been able to do this if I went to yapped at you guys the whole time? I would have been zooming through this in under 15 minutes. And it says here, this is the agent number that we're talking about. That'll have your information in there. Here's my agent statement. This is one that I tell agents, read it closely. I, the underside agent, certify that to the best of my knowledge, replacement is involved at this time. Now, I tried to get Manhattan to change this, but it's the way they use it for all their products, so they can't change it very easily. So remember to read this. Sometimes you'll see in other companies, it'll say is not involved or a check mark of is or is not right here. So in this case, remember, I have to kind of think it through. I'm saying to the best of my knowledge, replacement is involved. I'd click yes, but since it's not involved, I'm going to click no, right? So just read the question and make sure you don't go too fast and click yes, okay? Then please check to certify that all the information is recorded correctly, and this will be your name. I check this, and guess what? There's my agent signature because I logged in. If I wanted to do agent splits, I could do that. Click down here, and I could split it, and I could get into have a split with another agent. But in this case, I'll keep it simple and say no. Now you can see that I'm back up here. I can go through, and I can edit my benefits. I can do anything I wanted to there. I've already saved it. I could save it under a different name if I wanted to. I could add different products to this if I wanted to. But for most of you, the simple step is I'm going to click next. Okay. And I'm not going to click next here because that's actually submitting the app. So I don't want to mess with that part of it. But if I click next here, it goes over and it submits the app for me. And I don't want to have to go back and tell them that I didn't want that submitted. So once that's done, you're going to get an email from the carrier saying, good job, you've submitted an app, and you'll see that everything's kosher. Okay, so pretty easy stuff, as you can see. And if I wanted to go back here, and again, this is recorded, so I know the first time it always a little bit confusing. But I could go in and do a home health care as well. And right now, what are we looking at? 45. The home health care is easier yet. And I'm just going to do it super fast. If you want to hang on, I know we don't open this one up for questions. So I'm going to go back to Alabama, put in the thing, click next. Remember how fast this was. So I think I can do this one really fast. I've got 1961. I don't really need to move it forward, but I'll put it at 9. View products. Now remember, I did all this for the OmniFlex, and I could have went back and connected just to Jim and Sally, but in this case, I'll say it's a new client. This is how easy this is. I'm in the home healthcare area now. Instead of clicking OmniFlex, I clicked in home healthcare. And now you want to talk about easy. There's our classic Premier Deluxe. If you go to the brochure, you're going to see these are their different plan choices. If I click in Premier, the middle plan, then it'll say in that state, here's all these different riders that are available. If you go to our product training, you'll see, or to the site and look at home healthcare for Manhattan Life, you're going to see these different riders and what they do. But for today's sake, that's all it takes, right? I can go on there and I can begin the enrollment. And if I began the enrollment, you're going to see here, I can save this. And then it does the same thing. It goes through and asks the same questions. And if I did Jim and Betty, these would already be filled out. If I go to application questions, this is the knockout questions on health. Do I have existing health questions? If I click yes, that's not a knockout. If I replace it, and then it says, are you currently in a nursing home or receiving care? If I say no to those 2 questions, physically unable to do ADLs or can't read that, that's all it takes. And I've got my application health questions done. The rest of this is just the same thing I went through before. And again, if I added on the same policy for Jim and Betty, I can skip a few steps here. If not, I just refill it out real quickly. So all I would do is go through and do the same thing, look for green over here and click next and validate. We'll just verify everything's okay and you're done. So that's how easy this is, you guys. I can't stress enough. Once you do it once, you won't believe how easy it is, especially with that signatures just being home health aides, etc. So it's a very simple process. So next, I'm just going to go back to here and let you know. Again, we don't open this one up for questions, and I know you're drinking from a fire hose the first time seeing all that. It seems like overwhelming, but we have recorded training that walks you through this, and I recorded today as well. So it's a very simple process, and we do see agents all the time, like we stress so often in the webinars on this short-term care initiative. Remember, it's the first time you do it is scary, but once you do it once, you're going to see how easy it is, and you're going to go back to it. And we see agents all the time, no production, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 we see them back to back. Once they do the first one, they see how easy it is. Okay, so everything else is very standardized. You're going to be able to see it on your agent site. You're going to be able to see that app listed. You'll be able to follow it along and see what's happening in the underwriting stages. But again, this is short-term care, so most of these get turned around very, very quickly. And I'm sure you have other questions about this. So the next step's up to you. If you're not appointed, you absolutely positively want to contact the marketer who got you on this call today. Start that next step. We got a lot of gray hair in America, and 70% of them are going to use some type of extended care. So we want to make sure you take the next step to help out those folks. Even if you're in Medicare, somebody needs to talk to your folks, because 90% of the people have never had a conversation. So I can't stress that enough. Whichever products you sell, go out and help those people. It'll help your persistency and make you a ton of money besides, because these products pay very well as well. So that being said, I'll tell you what, contact your marketer. And if you have any other questions, they can go through the liaison and get a hold of us if they need help. And we're here to help you all along the way. And for Tom and my missing partner, Dennis Reiner, who's usually on these calls with me, Dennis, my partner in crime, I call him, you know what? We're here to help you. Look for one of our next webinars, and we're looking forward to helping you as well. Thanks, everybody. You have a great day.
The next step is yours. Contact your marketer for more information and to start offering short-term care solutions to your clients. And be sure to sign up for our other short-term care hot topic webinars.